May Allah's peace and blessings be upon them. Without further ado, let me ask Sayyid Hussain Jaffry to start today's majlis with the recitation of the Holy Quran. He will be followed by Sayyid Muhammad Jaffry. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعاديات ضبحا فالموريات قدحا فالمغيرات صبحا فأثرن به نقعا فوسطن به جمعا إن الإنسان لربه لكنود وإنه على ذلك لشهيد وإنه لحب الخير لشديد أفلا يعلم إذا بعثر ما في القبور وحصل ما في الصدور إن ربهم بهم يومئذ لخبير. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حتى إذا جاء أمرنا وفارت النور قل نحمل فيها من كل زوجين وقال اركبوا فيها بسم الله مجريها ومرساها بسم الله مجريها ومرساها إن ربي لغفور رحيم وهي تجري بهم في موج كالجبال ونادى نوح ابنه وكان في معزل يا بني اركب معنا ولا تكن مع الكافرين قال سآوي إلى جبل يعصمني من الماء قال سآوي إلى جبل يعصمني من الماء قال لا عاصم اليوم من أمر الله قال لا عاصم اليوم من أمر الله قال لا عاصم اليوم من أمر الله إلا من رحم وحال بينهما الموج فكان من المغرقين وقيل يا أرض ابلعي ماءك ويا سماء أقلعي وغيض الماء وقضي الأمر واستوت على الجود وقيل بعدا للقوم الظالمين ونادى نوح ربه فقال رب إن ابني من أهلي وإن وعدك الحق وأنت أحكم الحاكمين قال يا نوح إنه ليس من أهلك إنه عمل غير صالح فلا تسأل ما ليس لك به علم إني أعظك أن تغفر لي وإلا تغفر لي وترحمني أكن من الخاسرين قيل يا نوح اهبط بسلام منا وبركات عليك وعلى ممن معك سنمتعهم ثم يمسهم منا عذاب أليم تلك من أنباء الغيب نوحيها إليك ما كنت تعلمها أنت ولا قومك من قبل هذا فاصبر إن العاقبة للمتقين صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Shall I read the translation? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Beneficent. When our edict came and the oven gushed, we said, carry in it a pair of every kind of animal, along with your family, except those of them whom the edict has already been given, against whom the edict has already been given, and those who have faith, and none believed with him except a few. He said, board it, in the name of Allah it shall set sail and cast anchor. Indeed, my Lord is all forgiving, all merciful. And it sailed along with them, amid waves rising like mountains. Nuh called out to his son, who stood aloof, O my son, board with us, and do not be with the faithless. He said, I shall take refuge on a mountain. It will protect me from the flood, he said. There is none today who can protect from Allah's edict, except someone upon whom He has mercy. Then the waves came between them, and he was among those who were drowned. Then it was said, O earth, swallow your water. O sky, leave off. The waters receded. The edict was carried out, and it settled on Mount Judi. Then it was said, away with the wrongdoing lot. Nuh called out to his Lord and said, My Lord, my son is indeed from my family. Your promise is indeed true, and you are the fairest of all judges. He said, O Nuh, indeed, he is not of your family. Indeed, he is unrighteous conduct. So do not ask me something of which you have no knowledge. I advise you, lest you should be among the ignorant. He said, My Lord, I seek your protection, lest I should ask you something of which I have no knowledge. If you do not forgive me and have mercy upon me, I shall be among the losers. It was said, O Nuh, disembark in peace from us, and with our blessings upon you and upon nations, to descend from those who are with you, and nations whom we shall provide for. Then a painful punishment from us shall befall them. These are accounts of the unseen, which we reveal to you. Neither you nor your people used to know them before this. So be patient. Indeed, the outcome will be in favor of the God-wary. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Muhammad, for that beautiful recitation. May Allah bless you and bless all reciters of the Holy Quran. A loud salawat for brothers and for everyone present here. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. From the heart till we live, we will say, Ya Hussain. From the heart till we live, we will say, Ya Hussain. Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain. Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain. We are Hussaini, we will not leave Al-Hussain.
We are Hussaini, we will not leave Al-Hussain.
Even if you burn our bodies,
even if you burn our bodies,
if you cut our every vein, from the heart till we live, we will say, Ya Hussain. Everyone, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain. Run to Kufa, Ashqiya said, when they saw the Zulfiqar.
Run to Kufa, Ashqiya said, when they saw the Zulfiqar.
In the hand of Ibn Haydar,
in the hand of Ibn Haydar,
Fatih Badru Hunain. From the heart till we live, we will say, Ya Hussain. Everyone, Ya Hussain,
Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain.
Mawla whispered, Inna lillah wa ilayhi raji'un.
Mawla whispered, Inna lillah wa ilayhi raji'un.
We are for Allah and unto, we are for Allah and unto Him we must return again. From the heart
till we live, we will say, Ya Hussain.
Everyone, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain. Asre Ashura, a voice reaches our wounded Imam.
Asre Ashura, a voice reaches our wounded Imam.
Come to me and saqiye ko, come to me and saqiye ko. Sar o tishna noor ain. From the heart till we live,
we will say,
Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain,
Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain.
O corrupt historian trying to hush up Karbala.
O corrupt historian trying to hush up Karbala.
Can your pen silence the echo? Can your pen silence the echo of the shackle and the chain? From the heart till we live, we will say, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya everyone.
Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain.
Oh Hussaini, give your passion the qaba of intellect.
Oh Hussaini, give your passion the qaba of intellect.
Karbala is inspiration. Karbala is inspiration for the heart and for the brain. From the heart till we live, we will say, Ya Hussain. Everyone, last time. Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, I will invite shortly Moulana Syed Ali Aqib Jaffry to recite the 6th Majlis in this series of 9 majalis on the topic of Imam Hussain, a manifestation of the Holy Quran. But before that, just a small announcement and a request for Suratul Fatiha for my beloved father, Sayyid Tajammul Abbas Shaheed, who was assassinated on this day 26 years ago when he was serving as the commissioner of Sargodha Division. He was gunned down by terrorists and he gave his life in the line of duty and as an established moment. Please raise your hands for a Suratul Fatiha for the elevation of his stations. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Louder salawat. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I will now request Hujjatul Islam, Moulana Syed Ali Aqib Jaffry, to come and take the minbar and recite his 6th majlis on the topic of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam, a manifestation of the Holy Quran. With your loudest of salawats.
Another salawat, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين سيدنا ونبينا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الغر الميامين المعصومين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وخطابه المتين وهو أصدق القائلين وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم. صلوات. Verily this Quran guides towards that which is most upright. Verily this Quran guides us towards the infallible Imams, who are a manifestation of the realities of the Quran. Their life, their sacrifices prove to us that they sacrificed all they had for the uplift and revival of the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet and Islam. Right from the first Imam all the way to the 12th Imam. One of the prime responsibilities of the Imams that they inherited from all the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar, commanding towards good and forbidding, prohibiting, stopping the evil, was one of the objectives of all the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the prophets of Allah, without exclusion. The holy verse of the Holy Quran says, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا. Verily we sent a prophet in every nation, أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ, that they should worship Allah, وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ, and they should stay away from the Taghut. Commanding towards the worship of Allah is commanding towards the biggest ma'ruf. And وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ, staying away from the Taghut, is forbidding from the biggest munkar. These biggest ma'ruf and munkars have been identified, have been mentioned in the Holy Quran, and beneath it you'll have all the list of the ma'rufs. For if this ma'ruf, ni'budullah, falls apart, nothing will remain. And if the biggest munkar comes in action, takes over the society, if the society is taken over by a taghut, then again everything falls apart. That is why you find these two statements side by side in the Holy Quran. Ata'at of Allah and staying away from the taghut. Because as we mentioned in the previous days, the essence of ibadat, the essence of worship is obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is through obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah is worshipped. There's a beautiful tradition which says, Man ata'a rajulan fi ma'asiyatin faqad abada. Whoever obeys a person in sin has worshipped him. So the essence of worship is obedience. Allah will be worshipped, which is the purpose of our creation, through obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And obedience to Allah cannot happen if we side with the taghut. If we side with those who are against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who have transgressed the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then worship of Allah cannot take place. So one of the prime conditions, one of the prime requirements for worship of Allah to take place is the removal of taghut from all realms of our existence. The taghut that sits within us, the taghut that sits outside of us. That was one of the prime responsibilities of all the prophets. And this responsibility was inherited by all the Imams. And they fulfilled those responsibilities in their times using whatever strategies were important. We see, and this responsibility of Amr bil Maruf and Nahy anil Munkar also falls on our shoulders as mu'mineen. It doesn't stop there. One level, a certain level, certain lower levels of this responsibility falls on all of our shoulders. And this responsibility will only be possible if we have authority over each other. If we have vilayat over each other, if we give each other this right that other mu'mineen can stop us from evil and command us towards good deeds. The Holy Quran says, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. Mu'mineen and mu'minat, some of them are the awliya of others. يَعْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. They command towards good and stop from evil. This is a responsibility that is entrusted to all of us, especially our youth. When you make friends, your friends should be such that who should inform you of your defects, who should invite you towards good and stop you from evil. It is through friends that your salvation or damnation is also determined. You find this verse in the Holy Quran that on the day of judgment a person will bite his hand and say, I wish I did not take this person as my friend. Friends often will be the reason why people will end up in hell. When you choose your friends, be careful in whom you choose your friend. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam, he mentions, he says, do not take an ahmak person as your friend. Do not take a foolish person as your friend. Why? Because he will try to help you but end up hurting you. He will try to help you but end up hurting you. Do not take a bakhil person as your friend. Do not take a miser as your friend. Why? Because when you will need him the most, he will stay away from you. When you will need him the most, he will stay away from you. Do not make a fasik person your friend. Person who does not respect the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who openly sins. Why? Because he will result in you losing your honor. And finally he said, do not take a kadhab person, a serial liar, as your friend, a person who is used to lying. Why? Because he will make the distant seem near and the near seem far. He will make you think this is simple, it's easy, it's within reach, and you will go after it, whatever targets you set, and in the end you will see that it was not achievable or accomplishable. So be careful in whom you choose as your friends, and give them the right and encourage them to tell you your defects. It is easy for us to find out faults in others. It's difficult to find faults in your own selves. So your friend, if he can inform you of your faults, he's one of your best friends. Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam says, Ahabbu ikhwani ilayya man ahda ilayya uyubi. My favorite brother for me is one who informs me, who gifts me my defects. So if a person informs you of your defects, he's one of your best friends. And another tradition says, Al-Mu'min mir'atun li akhihi al-Mu'min. A mu'min is like a mirror to another mu'min. What does a mirror do when you go in front of the mirror? It shows you your true self. It does not change anything. If you are well dressed, that is how it will present, give you back your image. So mu'min is one that tells you what you are, your faults and your virtues. And another thing, when you move away from the mirror and somebody else comes in front of the mirror, it does not disclose to this new person the faults of the previous person. So we should not tell faults of one to the others. Ghibat is not allowed. But it is our responsibility to inform our mu'min brothers and sisters of the faults that we all have, because it is through this that we will be able to get rid of these faults. So Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi anil Munkar depends on wilayat, each of us having wilayat over each other. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given mu'mineen this wilayat. And this has conditions to recognize where Amr bil Ma'ruf needs to be done and where it should not be done. If one does not know what a Ma'ruf is and what a Munkar is, one should not delve in that command at that time if you do not know. It is also important to know the outcome of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. If you feel or if you know that my commanding will make the other person more stubborn, then it is wajib not to do it. When Hazrat Musa ﷺ and Harun were sent to Fir'aun, what does the Holy Quran says? فَقُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Talk to them politely. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرْ أَوْ يَخْشَى. Maybe they might be reminded or they might fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So talk to them politely. He is the one who had transgressed, but when two of the prophets of Allah were being sent, they were sent to them with the message that talk to them with politeness. So Amr bil Ma'ruf, one of the great responsibilities manifested by Imam Hussain ﷺ in his entire movement. We see that from day one till the end, he was doing Amr bil Ma'ruf. And not only Imam Hussain, all of the Imams will be involved in this divine task. Even the 12th Imam, when he will repair, please recite the salawat for the 12th Imam. Even when the 12th Imam, he will appear, one of the prime responsibilities would be Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. The reappearance of the 12th Imam, Shaitan has played with this important concept of intizar, of zuhur. All of us are waiting for the 12th Imam. One of the signs of the Holy Prophet mentioned in the previous books was that he would be doing Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar, and the previous nations, the Jews and the Christians and the other nations knew the Holy Prophet through these virtues of the Holy Prophet. They were waiting for the Holy Prophet. But when the Holy Prophet came, what happened? The Jews in Medina, who had settled in Medina, why did they settle in Medina? Because they had learnt in their books that the Prophet in the final days will come from this region. So they migrated from their places and settled in Medina. And in Medina there were two other tribes of Mushrikeen, Aus and Khazraj. And they would always, because they were uncivilized, they would always fight each other, and they were involved in battles and killing. And these Jews who considered themselves to be civilized, they would talk to them and say, we are waiting for our final messenger. And when he comes, we will bring Iman on him, we will believe in him, and with him we will fight you, because you are mushrikeen. So they were waiting for the 12th Imam, for their final messenger. But when the messenger came, the Aus and the Khazraj were the first ones to believe in them. They were the first ones to believe in the Holy Prophet. And the Jews who were waiting for the Holy Prophet, they rejected him. Except those who saw the truth and were pure enough and they accepted truth and became one of the companions of the Holy Prophet. But the majority of them rejected. This has happened once back in history. It can happen again. It did happen in Karbala again. The people of Kufa invited Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, saying that we are ready for you, our swords are with you, come, we don't have an Imam, come and lead us. And in their letters they had this statement, Al-Ajal Yabna Rasulillah. They were calling the Imam with these titles. But when the Imam came, how many of them ended up supporting the Imam? What happened? What was the reason? Was it the love of the dunya? Was it the love of wealth? Or fear of loss of property? Or the loss of life? Those fears still exist today. Our 6th Imam says, إِذَا خَرَجَ الْقَائِمِ, when our 12th will reappear, خَرَجَ مِنْ هَذَا الْأَمْرِ مَنْ كَانَ يَرَى أَنَّهُ مِنْ أَهْلِهِ. When the 12th will reappear, a lot of those who think that they belong to this clan will exit this clan. وَدَخَلَ فِيهِ شِبْهَ عَبَدَةِ الشَّمْسِ وَالْقَمَرِ. And the likes of the worshippers of the sun and moon will enter his movement. This is the fear that awaits all of us. When the 12th Imam is going to come, a lot of the mu'mineen who consider them as the followers and who are praying for his reappearance would leave him. And a lot of those who worship the sun and moon and the likes of them, they will enter his movement. We need to be careful and prepare ourselves. We generally wait for the zuhur of our 12th Imam. But if you look at traditions, you don't find the word of zuhur. The word you find in the traditions, the companions would come to the Imam and say, they would ask, Matal Qiyam, when is the uprising? That is the word. Or Matal Faraj, when is the opening? They didn't ask about zuhur as much. Why are we waiting for the zuhur? A person, one of the companions of the Imam, came to the Imam and he said, Matal Faraj, when is the opening going to come? Gusaish, Gustaresh, hame rahati kab milegi? Look at the response the Imam gives. He says, Wa anta mimman yuridu dunya. Are you one of those who want the dunya? Gusaish kab milegi, halat kab theek honge? And the Imam is responding, are you one of those who like the dunya? Who want the dunya? So if you're waiting for zuhur so that we can have a good life, that is not what the Imam intends from this concept of intizar, of zuhur. Then the Imam tells him, he says that whoever knows this affair, man arafa hazal amr faqad furrija anhu li intizarihi. Whoever is aware of this amr of zuhur, of qiyam, for him the faraj has happened because of his intizar. It has happened. He doesn't need to wait. The fact that you are waiting for the Imam implies that you have that gushaish, you have that opening. So if we understand the mission of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, if we understand the mission of the 12th Imam, when he will come, what is it that he will accomplish? He's going to establish justice over the entire world. So when we are waiting for him, we need to be preparing for that establishment of justice. We need to begin by establishing justice over our own souls, and then our families, and then our societies. If we start working in that direction, we will every moment feel his need. A person came to an alim and asked him, he said, I want to meet the Imam, I want to do the ziyarat of the Imam, can you tell me one nuskha, one wazifa? And the Imam, and that scholar said, yes, I can, it's very simple actually. He said, what is it that I need to do? He said, you need to go and eat fish and chicken and all of these muraghan, oily foods, but do not drink water. Do not drink water. And come to me tomorrow and I will tell you how to do the ziyarat of your Imam. So he went and he said, this is a simple task, and he did that, but he had to abstain from water. He abstained from water, and when he slept, and he woke up the next day, he came to him and he said, now tell me how to meet my Imam. And he said, so what did you do what I asked you to do? And he said, yes. He said, so what did you dream about? He said, I dreamt about the ocean. I dreamt about water because that is what I was in need of. And he said, this is the key to the ziyarat of your Imam. If your being is in need of the Imam, your ziyarat will be fulfilled. Your ziyarat will be fulfilled. If you begin to start establishing justice over your own selves, your own families, your own societies, you will immediately realize that you cannot accomplish this to the fullest extent. You will call your Imam and you will remember your Imam every moment. We will remember our Imam every moment. We will feel his need. We will feel that he is missing. Because what we want to accomplish cannot be fulfilled unless he is there. That is intizar. When you invite someone over dinner and you wait for him, you don't start cooking when he comes. You don't set up the table when he arrives. Everything is ready. All that you need to do is ready, and then you are waiting for him. A person who is sick but does not consult the doctor and says, I'm waiting for shifa, is lying. He's waiting for his death. The person who takes his medicine can claim, I'm waiting for my shifa. So the concept of intizar, Shaitan has tempered it and changed it into passive intizar as opposed to active intizar. One of the things that Shaitan does, and we have reference to that in the Holy Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ثم لآتينهم من بين أيديهم ومن بين خلفهم وعن أيمانهم وعن شمائلهم ولا تجد أكثرهم shakirin. When the dialogue between God and Shaitan took place, Shaitan threatened to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying, ثُمَّ لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ, I will come to mankind from its front and from its back, and from his right hand side and from his left hand side. وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرَهُمْ shakirin, and you will not find the majority of them to be shakirin, to be thankful. So he says, I'm going to deceive them from 4 different ways. What are these 4 different ways that Shaitan is going to deceive us? Shaitan being our biggest enemy, inna shaytana lakuma aduwwun mubin. In other places it says, inna shaytana lil insani aduwwun mubin. In another places, fattakhizuhu aduwwan. Shaitan has been declared as our manifest enemy, and Shaitan says, I'm going to use these 4 methods to deceive humanity. And this Shaitan is someone who sees us and we cannot see him, who has certain powers. He can do waswas to us. He can whisper. We don't see him. Every child that we have, he has 2 children. So he was blessed because of the 6,000 years worship that he has done. How many years? So he was there from Hazrat Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. And not only that, according to some traditions, the reward that he got was because of 6,000 years of worship before Hazrat Adam. And in Nahjul Balagha, Imam alayhi salatu wasalam says that it is not known if those 6,000 years belong to 6,000 years of this dunya or that dunya. And then this shaitan was with each and every nation, deceiving them. So this is a very expert, very sophisticated enemy. I'm going to deceive them from the front, from the back, from the right, from the left. The Imams, that is why we have stuck to the Ahlul Bayt. We cling to the Ahlul Bayt because they give us the tafsir of verses like these. Because they know what shaitan meant. Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu was salam says, when shaitan says that I'm going to deceive you from the front, he says I'm going to glorify akhirat for them. I'm going to glorify akhirat for them. I'm going to trivialize akhirat for them. وَحَوِّنُوا عَلَيْهِمْ أَمْرَ الْآخِرَةِ. I'm going to trivialize, make the akhirat insignificant for them. And when he says I'm going to deceive them from the back, I'm going to glorify this dunya for them. The words of the Imam are أَمُرُهُمْ بِجَمْعِ الْمَالِ وَالْبُخُلْ بِهَا عَنِ الْحُقُوقِ. I will command them to gather wealth and then exercise bukhul when it comes to spending that wealth in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the way of the huquq that Allah has assigned, ascribed to that mal, لِتَبْقَى لِوَرَثَتِهِمْ, till a point will come that they will leave this wealth for their inheritors. So glorifying the dunya and belittling the akhirah is one of the techniques of shaitan. And when you talk to someone and they say, well, akhirat kisne dekhi hai? वो उधार का सौदा है, ये नक़द है. These are ways, if somebody says that, they have been deceived by shaitan in this manner. And what is the technique that the Imam uses to counter this, and the prophets of Allah used to counter this? They glorify the akhirat for us and belittle the dunya for us. अगर दुनिया हमारी निगाहों में अजीम हो, then we fall trap to shaitan. We are susceptible to shaitan. You see, in the movement of Imam Hussain, in every station that he stopped and he descended, he talked about the dunya and how belittled this dunya, how insignificant this dunya is. He belittled this dunya, saying, and it is enough to understand the insignificance of this dunya that one of the prophets of Allah, Prophet Yahya, his head was sent in a tray to one of the sinners of Bani Israel. Belittling the dunya and glorifying the akhirah is a divine duty of the Imams. They do that so that we don't fall trapped to shaitan. Coming from the right hand side, that is why this is what I wanted to focus on the right hand side. This is where the shaitan deceives the mu'mineen, the mutadayyineen. I'm going to deceive them through their religion. He can't invite you to drinking alcohol or killing someone. You're not going to do that. So with mu'mineen and mutadayyineen, he uses this channel. He tampers with these sacred mafahim, sacred words, and changes its meaning. Like the definition of zuhud. Zuhud is a sacred duty, not an obligation though, it's voluntary. How do we understand zuhud? People would say zuhud is something that you don't have a lot of wealth, you live a simple life. That is what most people understand about zuhud. But that is not what zuhud truly means. Zuhud is not that you do not have this dunya. Zuhud is that you are not attached to this dunya. You are not attached to this. You can have everything of this dunya, but yet you could be the biggest zahid. In contrast to someone who has nothing of those dunya, and yet he could be attached to this dunya, to whatever he has. tampering with the meaning of zuhud. Imam Ali ﷺ says that zuhud, that zuhud is that you do not become happy with what Allah gives you and you're not upset with what you lose. This is what zuhud means. So if you have invested your money in stocks and the stocks skyrocket, if you're not happy about it, then you are a zahid. If you've invested in real estate and the market collapses and you're not upset about it, then you are a zahid. Can that really happen? Can we get to a state where we are not excited when we gain and we are not depressed when we lose? I see heads saying, no, it's not possible, or it's very difficult. It seems difficult, but if we change our world view, it becomes very simple. Let me give you an example. So if you are working at a bank, and I think I've given this example previously somewhere. If you're working at a bank as a cashier, for example, so one day a person walks in with ₹1,000,000 and he deposits that ₹1,000,000 with the bank, and you're the one who received that money and counted and put it in the locker. Would you be the most happiest person that day? No. And the other day someone comes and withdraws ₹1,000,000 and leaves the bank. Would you be the most depressed person that day? No. Why not? Because you don't consider that as your money. If only we could have that worldview with regards to the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deposits with us and then withdraws from us whenever He wishes, the status of zuhud becomes reachable, becomes achievable. If we consider the blessings, the worldly blessings, our children, our wealth, the fame that Allah gives, it is an amanat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we are entrusted with it. He has given it to us today, and whenever He wants, He can take it back. If that is how we look at this, at the blessings that Allah gives us, then zuhud suddenly seems very easy to accomplish. So it is this transformation of ideology that is needed to achieve a lot of these virtues. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. And the same goes with the other virtues that we want to accomplish. We want to run after akhirah. You have to value akhirat more than this dunya. If we raise our children in a manner that for them akhirat is more valuable than this dunya, then they will not fall trapped to shaitan. Another way in which shaitan deceives or has deceived us is through this concept of intizar. Intizar, which was supposed to be one of the best actions. Afzalul amal is also intizarul faraj, is considered to be one of the afzal tareen, ba fazilat tareen actions. It is an action, it is not passively waiting, it is actively waiting for the Imam. And if you look at the waiting of the Imam, the final Imam is being awaited not only by the Muslims, not only by the Shias, not only by the Ahl Sunnah, not only by the Muslims alone. Every nation is waiting for a savior. They have different names for it, but everyone is waiting for a savior. And the difference between our view and our brother's view is that we say that he has been born and he will reappear. What does our brother say? He will be born. Just for the sake of an intellectual argument, if you have this belief that he will be born, so whenever you are asked where is the Imam? Your reply would be, he will be born. If you follow that cycle, there never will be Zuhur then. Because at each point in time, your Aqidah is, he will be born. So it's like 40 years down the road now. His Zuhur is 40 years down the road. And every moment in time, that is what your Aqidah is. So that is one point. We believe in the concept of intizar. We are awaiting for the 12th Imam. And not only us, everyone is waiting for the 12th Imam. Right? And one of the problems that when this discussion of Imamat happens, and we start entering into the debate on who was the rightful waris of the Holy Prophet after his death, is that there are sensitivities involved, and people often, because of those sensitivities, are not able to figure out haqq from batil. Let us look at this problem from the other side, from the 12th Imam. Everyone is waiting for the 12th Imam. And we all believe, all Muslims believe, that when the 12th Imam will reappear, Islam will reach its peak. All of the problems of the Muslim Ummah will be resolved. He will lead the Ummah and he will establish the rule of justice over the entire Muslim world, rather over the entire world eventually. So my suggestion and my request to our Muslim brothers is that why don't you sit down and select the 12th Imam? Why don't we appoint a 12th Imam just like you have appointed all the previous Imams? You have believed in appointment or selection. We believe in divine appointment. But you believed in selection by the Ummah, the experts. So there is no limit. We are limited. We cannot choose the 12th Imam, and therefore we are waiting. But there is no such restriction on the other brothers. They might as well choose the 12th Imam and put an end to the atrocities of the Muslim world. But when it comes to the 12th Imam, everyone is waiting. Why this inconsistency? We are consistent with our belief. When it came to the 12th, we are waiting for the 12th by divine appointment. We waited for the 11th Imam through divine appointment. We believed in the 10th Imam through divine appointment, the 9th and the 8th and the 7th and the 6th, all the way till the 1st. But you believed in selection by the Ummah all the way till the 11th. What suddenly changed now? What suddenly changed? The 12th Imam cannot be chosen by the people. Everyone is waiting for divine appointment for the 12th Imam to come. And this throws light on the methodology of appointment of the previous Imams as well. Please recite the salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. When the 12th will reappear, he will fill the world with justice. And when he will appear, there will be an uprising. And that is what we need to prepare for. There are a lot of similarities between the movement of Imam Hussain and the movement of the 12th Imam. They both did qiyam. When the 12th Imam is going to come, we should be anticipating another qiyam, and we should be preparing ourselves for that eventual qiyam. Inshallah, tomorrow I'll read a beautiful hadith in which a person came to the Imam and he said that we have not been blessed, we are not living in the time of the 12th Imam. Just like there are questions by people that we live in the time of ghaibah, we do not have access to the Imam. Why are we at loss? We were not in the time of the Holy Prophet, nor did we see the time of the Imams. We feel ourselves at loss. How did the Imam reply? Inshallah, we'll, if God allows, we'll talk about that tomorrow. For us to be the true soldiers of our 12th Imam, the true Ansar, the true helpers of the 12th Imam, we need to change our worldview in a way that this dunya is insignificant in our eyes and akhirat is more significant. And the Imam did the tarbiyat of his companions and his Ahlul Bayt in precisely that manner. On the night of Ashur, when he gathered his companions, he gave them a choice at that point. He wanted everyone who wanted to sacrifice himself on the day of Ashur to be out of free will, complete free will, and not because of any prayer obligation that they have locked themselves into. He called his companions and announced, "We, the people of household, do not deceive nor trick." We do not deceive nor trick. They are after my life. It is my blood that they need. They're not after you. Take advantage of the darkness of the night and leave. But nobody was ready to leave. Thinking that maybe some of them are ashamed to leave. He makes it easier for them to leave by saying, if you don't want to save your lives, hold the hands of one of my family members and take them with you. Maybe somebody might use this opportunity to save his life. He gives them a final third reason to leave. I free you of my allegiance, of oath of allegiance. The lights were turned off. If you want to leave, leave. Maybe they're afraid, they're ashamed to leave in front of others. But nobody left. When the lights were turned on, they were all there. And the Imam saying, I do not know of companions better than my companions. And I do not know of the Ahlul Bayt better than my holy household. They truly were loyal companions. And then one after the other, they stood up to express their loyalty on the night of Ashur. The first among them was Hazrat Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam. Then Muslim bin Ausajai, then others. With strange remarks, one of them said, should we leave you only to be eaten by the wild beasts of the desert? No. We'll never leave you. Another said, this is only one life that I am sacrificing for you. If Allah gives me 70 lives and each time I am killed and my body is burnt into ashes and the ashes spread in thin air and I am given life again, I will again sacrifice my life in your defense. These are the companions of Imam Hussain. And the Imam Hussain praised them and told them that in that case, all of you will be killed tomorrow. No one will live. Everyone will be killed. And they were delighted and excited. But from one corner, there was this child who was listening to this discussion. He turned to his Imam as if he has a question to ask. Only 13 years of age, worried it is possible that because of my tender age, I might not get the permission to fight. He turns to the Imam, Ana fi man yuqtal, O Imam, is my name in the list of the martyrs? Am I going to be killed tomorrow? Before the Imam answered him, the Imam asked another question to him to show to the world the marifah of the Ahlul Bayt, of his holy household. He asked him, Kayf al-maut indak? Qasim, how do you see maut? How do you see death? And the reply came, Ahla min al-asal, sweeter than honey. Sweeter than honey. Death and akhirah for the Ahlul Bayt is more significant, is glorified, is glorious for them. These are the children of Ahlul Bayt. What to talk about the seniors of Ahlul Bayt and the elders of Ahlul Bayt. Ahla min al-asal. Then he repeats his question, "Oh uncle, will I be killed tomorrow?" Then the Imam replied, "Qasim, you're asking about yourself? Even my Ali Asghar will be killed tomorrow. Even my Ali Asghar will be killed." When everybody heard of the shahadat of Ali Asghar, they were surprised and they started to mourn and they started to cry, "Are the Ashqiya going to enter the tents and kill Ali Asghar?" The Imam replied, "This is not how Ali Asghar will be killed. Rather, I will take him in my hands before the Ashqiya." And then on the night of Ashur, it is narrated that Imam Hussain narrated the entire incident of the shahadat of Ali Asghar on that very night in a manner that the Imam was crying and the Ashab was crying, everybody was crying. Like to ask and think, and I invite you to think, when Imam was crying in such a manner, when he was narrating the story of shahadat of Ali Asghar, what would Imam's state be when he was actually taking Ali Asghar into the field? उस वक्त इमाम की क्या हालत होगी जब असगर को मैदान में ले जा रहे थे. On the day of Ashur, the loyal companions fulfilled their promise to defend the Imam one after the other, till a time came that the Imam saw Hazrat Qasim standing in front of him, looking at his Imam, seeking permission to go to the battlefield. It is said that the Imam did not give him permission instantaneously, even though he had informed him the previous night that you will be killed. But the permission is not given. There are many reasons to explain why. One of the reasons that some of the Urafa has given is that one of the purposes of the Imam is to help every individual reach its perfection. Qasim, because of his tender age, there were still more potential in Qasim. So the Imam refused, and Qasim began to insist with every insistence that I want to achieve martyrdom in your defense. His level was raising. हर इश्तियाक, हर शौक कि मुझे शहादत चाहिए, उनके दर्जे को बुलंद कर रही थी. Till a time came that he reached his full potential, and the Imam then gave him the permission to enter the battlefield. Qasim was only 13 years old. There was no armor that could fit his body. The other companions, when they went into the battlefield, they had the armor, they had the shields, and they had the helmet and the other armor. When Qasim went into the battlefield, he was dressed by his uncle. His helmet was the imama that the holy Imam tore into half and used half of it and wound it on his head. Then the other half was wrapped around his body in the form of a kafan. And when Qasim began to walk towards the battlefield, his sword was touching the ground, and he was marking his road to martyrdom. When he entered the battlefield, the enemies saw that tears were rolling down his cheek. One of the warriors came forward and said, "Why are you crying, O child? Warriors don't cry in the battlefield." He turned to him and said, "I am not crying over what will happen to me. I am crying over what is happening to my Imam." Then he introduced himself, saying, "In tunkeruni fana ibnul Hasan." If you do not know me, then know that I am the son of Hassan. Sibtun Nabiyil Mustafa wal Mu'taman. Who Hassan? Who was the grandson of the Holy Prophet, who was the trustee of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Haza Husaynun. Haza Husaynun kal asiril murtahan. And this is Hussain alayhi salam, who is trapped between you like a prisoner. You people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not shower his rain of mercy on you ever. Then he entered into battle, into duels with the enemy, one after the other. Whoever came to attack him was killed by Qasim, until Hamid ibn Muslim narrates that one of the warriors was sitting next to me, and he said, "I am going to go and challenge this child." And I said to him, "He's only a child. If this child was to invite me to battle, I would not accept his request because he is a child. Let someone else go and fight him. But he did not listen and he entered the battlefield. Now Janab Qasim is only a child and this is a warrior. A fierce battle took place between the two, and after a little while Janab Qasim got struck on his head and he fell from the horse. And when he fell from the horse, he cried to his uncle saying, Ya Amma adrikni, oh my uncle, come to my rescue. Mere chacha, meri madad ko aiye. The Imam Hussain alayhi salam came to his rescue. When it is narrated that Imam came to the body of Qasim just like an eagle dives at its prey. When Imam came to Ali Akbar, it is said that one of the statements that Imam Hussain said was, Ala dunya ba'daka al-ifa, Akbar tere baad ab jeene par khak. Imam on every shaheed had a different statement to make. But when he came close to Janab Qasim alayhi salatu wasalam, he approached Janab Qasim just like an eagle dives at its prey. The enemy was about to behead Janab Qasim, but the Imam got there in time, and a fight took place between the Imam and this enemy soldier, and the Imam chopped off his hands. And when his hands were chopped off, he screamed loudly and cried for help. All the enemy soldiers converged at this enemy soldier to defend him from the Imam, and as a result there was dust everywhere. Nobody knew what happened. When the horses of the right trampled and moved to the left, and the horses from the left moved to the right. When the dust settled and the scene became clear, it was seen that Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam was sitting next to Janab Qasim, and he was saying, repeating this sentence, he was saying, Qasim, it is very hard on your uncle that you call your uncle for help, but your uncle is not able to help you. Your uncle is not able to reach you in time, and even if he reaches you, he is of no use to you on that day. Then he reads his musibah, saying that, Qasim, today is the day when your uncle's enemy are many and his helpers are only a few.
Allah lanatullahi ala al-qawmi al-zalimin. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He accepts this recitation and your hearing, and He hastens the reappearance of our 12th Imam, Matam Hussain.
For no one could bear that he died, least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain. Everyone! Least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain. Carry chorus.
Least of all Hussain.
O lovers of Hassan, come near, as I narrate to you his dear. He was left to defend the Imam and to protect the deen of Islam. He was left to defend the Imam and to protect the deen of Islam. So Qasim approaches Hussain in a moment of tremendous pain. The rose of Hassan has to fight, but how can Hussain risk his light? The rose of Hassan has to fight, but how can Hussain risk his life? On the pieces of Qasim they cried. Everyone, for no one could bear that he died. Least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain,
Least of all
Hussain. He was of his brother a trust. Hussain could not see him in dust. O Qasim, my son, take a breath. I ask you, how do you view death? O Qasim, my son, take a breath. I ask you, how do you view death? His answer we must always keep. His answer caused angels to weep. You know, uncle, I love honey, but death is sweeter than honey. You know, uncle, I love honey, but death is sweeter than honey. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Everyone, least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain,
Least of all Hussain.
Said Mawla, O Qasim, my pride, for women you must stay behind. So Qasim goes back to his camp, his face full of tears and so damp. So Qasim goes back to his camp, his face full of tears and so damp. His mother said, why do you cry? He said, for Hussain I can't die. Farwa pulled out a letter, hoping that this would make things better. Farwa pulled out a letter, hoping that this would make things better. When Mawla saw who it was from, his entire body went numb. He had to let Qasim go fight. The young nephew's face became bright. He had to let Qasim go fight. The young nephew's face became bright. Hussain gave him turban and cloak, seeing him ladies and a broke. To aunties and mothers farewell, to aunties and mother farewell, as Qasim comes out of his shell. To aunties and mother farewell, as Qasim comes out of his shell. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Least of all Hussain. Everyone, least of all Hussain. Least of all Hussain. Least of all Hussain. The lion of Hassan so brave, he sent 35 to the grave. Then Qasim, his armor so large, So cowardly enemies charge. They struck Qasim from every side. Oh uncle, help me, Qasim cried. They ripped his young body apart and struck right at his uncle's heart. They ripped his young body apart and struck right at his uncle's heart. Oh Qasim, your call is still loud. We always want to make you proud. Oh Qasim, your call is still loud. We always want to make you proud. On the pieces of Qasim they cried, for no one could bear that he died. Least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain. Everyone, least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain, least of all Hussain. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, we'll have a brief question and answer session, but we will not have that much time because Maghrib is imminent. So maybe Qibla 2 or 3 questions, preferably from the audience. So if there are any questions from the audience, you can ask Moulana and he will try to answer them. Over to you, Moulana. Thank you. If you have a question, please raise your hand.
We spoke about Zohar on kind of the occasion of tied up worldly affairs or rather not having that. How do we coordinate this with sugar that requires us to show gratitude even towards the worldly blessing that we have got?
There is sugar on worldly blessings.
But that does not mean that you get attached to it. So attachment is different than shukr. Shukr, on every blessing there is shukr. And when that blessing is taken away it should not be accomplished with sadness over it. I don't know if I've addressed your question or not. We can talk about it after offline if there is. Anyone else? Ji.
Just one observation.
Please be seated.
You mentioned 4 dimensions from which shaitan comes, but 2 more dangerous directions are, one from the top and one from the bottom.
Yeah, we don't. There is no reference to that in the. These immorality and inviting towards sin is from the left-hand side. That is what is mentioned. There's one question here as well. The 4th way is from the left-hand side. That is inviting to sin. So these 4 directions are not necessarily physical directions. So from the front means glorifying the dunya. From the back means belittling the akhirah. From the right, from the front means belittling the akhirah. From the back means glorifying the dunya. From the right means coming from the direction of deen. And using religious terminologies and religious occasions. For example, spoiling the azadari, for example, spoiling your salat and spoiling your niyat and changing and tampering with the concept. So these are all from the right hand side. And from the left hand side is inviting to sin, which is and which most religious people would not fall trap to that in the beginning. Eventually one would fall into that category where he begins to listen to invitation of shaitan to kill people and to terrorize people and to commit those sins. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Repeat your question, please.
Why did Imam, after Imam did not do together?
Well, there are many reasons. One of the reasons was there weren't enough supporters. And then there are people, there are occasions when people came to the Imam and asked them, why are you not doing the qiyam? And he said, if there were as many people as these sheep here, and he said, I counted and there were 17. So there weren't enough people who would support the Imam, number one. And secondly, the circumstances was different. Imam Hussain ﷺ, he was asked to do bay'ah, and if he did not do bay'ah, he would be killed. So Imam Hussain had to do the qiyam to defend religion. That threat as such was not there in the later Imams, in the times of the later Imams, one, and then there weren't enough supporters as well. So that's the second reason. There can be many other reasons to it. One last question I would like to answer before we stop, and it says, you described the Zuhd as emotional detachment from dunyavi gains and losses. Then why we find in the Masahib that there was a lot of sadness? And this is an important question, and I think it has to do with how certain Masahib are presented from the mimbar. When certain companions, when certain people of the Ahlul Bayt, for example, when Janab Ali Akbar came for permission, the Imam never stopped him. Not a single time did the Imam say, what is going to happen to me? Or not a single time did Lady Zainab said, as you hear in the Masahib, in some of the Masahib, kya isi din ke liye tujhe pala tha? Isi din ke liye pala tha. Yes, they were raised for this very day. That was the happiest day of Imam Hussain ﷺ, when his oldest son is asking to defend the religion and give up his life for the sake of religion. He was happy over it. Yes, because of the emotional attachments that his family had with Janab Ali, but he said, go and say goodbye to your family member. That is part of human interaction. He had to say that, and they cried because of the fact of what was happening to such revered personalities. We cry on the day we mourn Muharram, and we mourn the 10th of Muharram, because these personalities did not deserve to be treated like this. But for them, Imam Hussain ﷺ, and even one of the companions on the time of Fajr of the day of Ashur, he joked. And the other person said, is this a time to joke? And he said, people know that I am not a person who jokes. But I want the enemy to know that I'm happy, I'm excited. I'm defending my life, I'm giving up my life to defend the Imam. And when Lady Zainab Salamullah Alaiha was criticized in Ibn Ziyad's Darbar, she turned back and he said, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. In the event of Karbala, I saw only beauty. I did not see anything other than beauty. And then she said, they were people who loved Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they embraced shahadat. They reached their Lord, they reached what they were after. So if we should not be presenting Masahib in a manner where the shahadat of one of the companions or one of the members of the Ahlul Bayt is taken as something that they were not ready for, or something that they did not want that to happen. No, they knew very well what was going to happen from the very beginning. Imam Hussain knew that, his family members knew that, the companions knew that. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.